are lots of fun outdoor activities to do in the winter. Things like sledding and ice skating. And when that big snowstorm finally hits, I jump for joy because it's time to get outside and play in that fluffy magic called snow. My pal Nimbus recently caught up with a local snow sculptor to see if he had any advice for getting hands on and making some snow art this winter time.
Nimble Nimbus.
In the know.
Nimble Nimbus.
In the know.
Nimble Nimbus.
In the know.
Nimble Nimbus.
Today we are joined by a master snow sculptor named Matt Morris. He is a former high school teacher from Waterloo, Ontario. Now he devotes his winter time to creating and inspiring others to get outside and make some art using snow. Thanks for being on our show today, Matt.
Hey Nimbus, it's great to be with you. Let's talk snow.
Your snow sculptures are super awesome. How long have you been making these kinds of creations?
Well, like a lot of kids, I've been out there my whole life in the snow because I love winter, but I've been making snow sculptures on our front lawn here for just about 10 years. This is my 10th season doing it out front.
Wow! You have had a lot of practice. What is the most memorable sculpture you have ever made?
Boy, they've all been fun because you learn so much and you have great interaction with your neighbors and such. But I'm going to pick one. I'm going to pick Carl from the movie Up. I don't know if you've seen him, but it turned out so well, and it was the first time I'd put grids on my picture, and it helped me get the carving right. I even put eyeballs in the middle of where his eyes are. And I made them out of wood and then painted them over. And it was so much fun. In fact, a neighbor walked by with a helium balloon, which of course Carl is all over, and put the helium balloon right beside the sculpture, which was super fun.
That is really cool. Have you ever had a sculpture fall apart while carving it?
Yes, I have numerous times, and there's lots of different reasons. But one time last winter, I was using my new wall form to try something new, and it kept falling down, and it was so frustrating. And I tried and tried again, and finally I decided, you know what, I need to take a break. So I stopped, I went inside, I had a nice dinner, and in fact I slept all night and came back the next day saying, I've got to make something here. And my wife said, why don't you try a gnome? And I hardly knew what a gnome was, but I made a gnome, and it was about 10 feet high, and the reaction was so positive, I realized everybody seems to love gnomes. And so I made one out of plasticine, and here's the plasticine I use from a local craft store. And I realized not only is it fun, but it's really easy. And so I went out into my backyard and I made a video of how to make a gnome in snow. And it's on my free website, and you can maybe make your own gnome this winter in snow. So my disaster of my wall falling down in the end ended up me discovering gnomes were cool and making a video so that kids could have fun making gnomes.
Gnomes are awesome! Do you have any special tools for working with snow?
Yes, I've got all kinds of tools, but let me focus on the ones that I think you'll find the most interesting. You'll recognize this. It's basically a plastic knife, but I'll call it a robust plastic knife. It's not the really cheap one. It's pretty strong. A plastic spoon is a great tool. Here's another one. A cake decorating tool is a great tool for new carvers. And a variety of these tools, which are called loop tools, and they're great for removing material. Also, sometimes the surface becomes kind of rough and unfinished, and you can use a flexible sanding block to smooth it out. Now, while we talk about this, I want to mention something. Even a plastic knife can be a little dangerous, so make sure parents and guardians are involved in any tool choice. There's other tools as well. You might recognize this. It's part of an old cheese grater that I wrapped around a trowel, and that's a great tool for removing material. And I've even done things like found an old stick and put a little piece of metal on it wrapped in hockey tape. So you can have lots of fun, designing and making new tools and trying them out. Some will work, some won't, but that's fine. But always remember to have your parents involved or your guardians involved to make sure safety is paramount.
That's right. Safety first, makers. You've made some huge sculptures. How do you make them so big?
Well, I guess we need to talk about snow forms, which is a really important topic when having success in snow. And I'm going to talk about 3 sizes of snow forms, and we'll end with the big one, which is what you wanted to talk about. First up though, let's go to the small end, and here's a 5-gallon plastic pail. I can throw the snow into this, pound it in with my mittens, and then away I go. I can also make a snow form out of plywood, and if you follow me to my driveway, I want to show you some of the larger forms. So with forms, there's 3 ways to go, and we've already talked about the pail, and a 5-gallon pail is a great place to start. Next level up, let's talk plywood. This is a 6-sided, medium-sized form, I'll call it. Just old pieces of plywood, temporarily held together with releasable zip ties, but once the snow's in, then I'll put a couple of ratchet straps on it just to really tighten it down. Now, a very important part of this process is how do we get the snow in properly? Well, as you might guess, we shovel in the snow, and once we've got maybe half of it full, then I take a pounder, and I've got a fairly good sized pounder here, just a piece of plywood on a stick with some supports, and I start pounding in the snow, and that's a very important step. Once it's pounded, I load in more. Once I get to the very top, I pound it, and then of course I leave it for 2 hours to let it really bind together, and that's that process called sintering. If we want to go even bigger, what I've done is I've developed this very simple form process, and this is 1/4-inch plastic basically, and it's all rings. Now, right now I have it separated with these wooden blocks, but normally I just nest them in as I go up. And then you say, how the heck do you get the snow in that high? Well, I've got a special shovel I made here. Just a typical scoop shovel, but I put a really long handle on it. And so when I shovel, I can shoot up way up. I've got 3 sections, but I often have 4 sections, and that allows me to easily get that snow to the top. Now I still have to pound that snow, so at that point up high, I very carefully get a step ladder going, and of course have to watch the slippery factor, but I still have to pound it. Then eventually we take off all these forms and it's ready to carve. And when you stand here looking at an 8-foot tower, medium, ready to carve, that's a pretty exciting moment in snow sculpting.
You must get pretty cold when working outside in the winter. Do you have any tips for staying warm?
Nimbus, that's a very important question, and I'm going to say there's 2 parts to the answer. When you're shoveling the snow into your snow forms, or maybe a pail, that's hard work, and you can get warm pretty quick. And so I dress warmly, but I'm not too concerned because I know I'm going to be working hard. I then let the snow sinter for 2 hours, and we'll talk about sintering later. And then I go back out later to do the actual carving. Now when I'm carving, I'm just standing there carving. It's not very hard work. And what happens is, if you're not super warm, you can get cold very quickly, and that takes away all the fun. So hat, mitts, scarf, multiple layers, and preferably wool if you can find anything that has wool in it, will make sure that you're warm the whole time you're carving, and that keeps the fun going.
Ooh, I love wool. It makes me feel so cozy. How do you make your sculptures glow at night?
Another good question. When you add some lighting to the sculptures, it really makes it pop. And so I have a simple little spotlight. And I'll just turn it on here without trying to blind you. There's red, there's green, there's blue, and I think you can, hopefully I didn't blind you too much, but a simple spotlight will do the job. And sometimes I even illuminate them from the inside. I have a way of hollowing out some of my sculptures, and so the light shines out from the inside.
Great idea, Matt. Do you have any special techniques for preparing the snow before carving it?
Yes, and this is really key. Normally we all go out when it's packing snow, and we roll up big snowballs and make a snowman or snow person. But I've got a technique where you can use the non-packing snow, or I'll call it dry snow, to have lots of fun this winter. In fact, dry snow is probably the majority of the snow we get. So let's look at this 5-gallon pail again. And the technique is I shovel the snow in and I pound it in with my mittens. Or if I'm really motivated, I can make a QP 7000, I call it. It's a quarter pounder. And what it is a very simple to make tool. It's about a quarter of the bottom of this pail. That's why I call it the quarter pounder. And then I pound the snow in, and the curve of the pounder slides down the side of the pail and gives it a very good compaction right on the edge of the pail. Now, once it's compacted, then I grab the handle in one hand and I flip it over, and then I remove it with a twist and a pull-up, like this. And then I pull it off, and I go make many more. Maybe I'll make 10. And there's instructions on my website called Snowbank Productions. It's all free, and it'll show you very specifics on how to have success with this. Once the snow is all sitting there, maybe it's 10 pails worth, I leave it for at least 2 hours, sometimes even overnight. And what happens is the crystals start locking together, and that process is called sintering. S-I-N-T-E-R. And it locks them together. After 2 or 3 hours, then I can start carving or just building with these blocks, and the fun begins.
I can't wait to make my own QP 7000. What inspires the designs that you choose to make?
Oh, you can see that I've got lots of different ideas here. The inspiration comes from anywhere. Once a little 3-year-old neighbor walked by and said, or told me that she really loves penguins. And so we made a 8-foot tall penguin, and it was lots of fun. But my discussions with my neighbors and those that are walking by is often where I get some of my great ideas.
Penguins are so cute. How can the kids watching at home get involved in making their own snow sculptures this year?
I've got lots of ideas for you. I do have a free website again, Snowbank Productions, and on there is all kinds of information and over 30 free videos to help you have success with snow. Optionally, you don't have to do this, but you could join my free snow sculpting club, where you print out the certificate, which is now available in English and French, thanks to a teacher in Ottawa. And then you cut out your little badges once you've completed things, and you cut them out and you glue them on. I've had kids that enjoy coloring these before they cut them out and then paste them on. But you don't have to be part of the club. Some kids love clubs and others would just like to play with the snow. You don't have to join the club to learn all the things you can. And I don't collect any names. There's no information at all, and it's all free. So it's your choice how you want to get involved with snow this coming winter.
It's been really cool chatting with you today. Thanks for sharing your passion for making snow art with us, Matt. Can't wait to see what designs you come up with this year.